campaigns are so cyclical. They're up and down.
Yeah.
How do we even out the revenue? And it's just looking at what you have to offer. What assets do you have? What things, to your point about spinoffs, we found out that we had incredible data, that if we had the right agreements to keep everything legal, that we could find ways to monetize that data, use it for other purposes. And that's what's really helped us be successful. And we've done that over and over and over again.
I love the fact that you've got a deeper understanding of how to use the data, how to use the psychology, how to take advantage of the timing of the media cycle. There's so many factors that I don't think traditional businesses either have the time or the background to think of.
Candidates have taught us that we're really looking at a very short time frame in these days. Candidates don't have a lot of time. Businesses don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Things that were popular yesterday aren't going to be popular today. Things that were working 2 years ago aren't going to work tomorrow. The need is to reinvent faster. You can't pause and wait for everything to blow apart and then try to fix it.
Yeah.
It's got to be done proactively.
Hey, this is Mike Koenigs. Welcome to another episode of Capability Amplifier. These are my friends, Kurt and Kristen. Say hi.
Hey, hey.
Hello.
All right. Well, this is super exciting because what does it take to get one president, 14 governors, 15 senators, and 88 members of Congress elected? And millions, tens of millions, or hundreds of millions of dollars in order to win. It's 50% plus one. There is no second place. Now that and a big freaking smart engine that reinvents itself because every campaign is a startup. My guests today are Kurt and Kristen Luidhardt. I met them at Tony Robbins' home in Palm Beach. Now they have an amazing hero's journey that began in college. They are consummate entrepreneurs who slept in their car selling fireworks and wound up building an incredibly successful political marketing organization that has raised over $500 million. Now they've traveled over 1.5 million miles, many in their car, in 48 states. Now, some of their clients that they've helped get elected included President Trump, which includes a $60 million raise, Ted Cruz with millions raised, Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia, Governor Chris Christie, U.S. Senator Rick Scott, U.S. Senator Paul Ricketts, whose family owns the Cubs, and many, many more. Now, their unique ability and superpower is their ability to reinvent faster with an easy to understand framework that they're going to share with you today and a team they deploy in their clients' businesses. Now, their systems can help any B2B business find hidden money, generate MRR, that's monthly recurring revenue, create spin-off companies that sell for quick wins. They've done it themselves. They're going to talk about how they can do it with you. But they also spin messages and stories that turn around organizations and generate more revenue in a media cycle. So their unique mindsets can be applied to any business, including yours, no matter what industry you're in or what your political leaning is. So welcome, Kurt and Kristen. Thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be here, Mike.
Thanks.
So exciting. So first of all, I want to just begin with, Kurt, you ripped your pants in front of a president. So tell us the story.
I did. You know, I had the unique privilege of going to the Bush family compound in Kennebunkport, Maine, a few years back, and get to spend some time with Governor Jeb Bush, George P. Bush, his son, who is land commissioner in Texas, and, of course, former President George H.W. Bush and his wife, Barbara. Very excited about it because that's the very first election I ever really got to vote in, although it was a student election at the time. But so I remember that, and I was excited about a chance to meet them. And we were actually doing something outdoors. We were meeting outdoors, and they had positioned themselves on the porch of Jeb Bush's little cabin there in the Bush family compound there. And we did the whole grip and grin thing. We have a great picture with the two of us and George H.W. and Barbara. And as everybody got done with the grip and grin, they were all by themselves. So this guy
Opportunity.
thought, I'm going to start a conversation, get some real face time, and I'm going to get right up in their face. I had this plan. I'm going to ask HW about the land because the family's owned it for 150 plus years. And took a big step up on the porch, and right when I did it, you get that feeling. When you know, it's like a little pop. Yes, something has happened, but you don't know. You know, it's kind of like you can't really look and find out. Like, did I how exposed am I?
Yeah.
Because then everybody will know.
Hello, ladies.
And so, yes, I just remember the piercing blue eyes of the former First Lady looking at me and thinking, well, the only thing I can do is just start talking and hope nobody notices.
Yeah.
But I did escape it. I had to kind of jump backwards off the porch and immediately find my way out of view. But it's wonderful. Sometimes you meet your idols and bust your pants right in front of them.
Yeah. So did you know what was going on at the time, Kristen? Did you have any idea at all?
Okay. I did not. I just remember him coming to me afterwards and having me check. Said, you can't see anything. You can't. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. Oh,
but he was very worried, and
that's funny.
He thought that the former First Lady noticed, but I don't.
I still think she did.
I don't think she did.
She had a look on her face.
Oh, that's great. I love it. So one of the things that we're going to do today, just to give away the big prize, is you guys have built this brilliant Reinvent Faster system and we've been working on this for days now. And what I've really enjoyed is just deconstructing how you've been able to look at all these political campaigns and businesses you've built yourselves. And the bottom line is it's a really, really fast way to examine the data. You've got this modularized way of bringing in business units that you think in terms of everything's a startup, which is really, really smart. And the way you think about it, though, is different than I've ever seen before. That's one of the things I'm super excited about. But maybe before we begin, why don't you talk a little bit about your own backstories, like how you met, how you got together, and how you started some of your first businesses? Because I think the journey is just as important, and it makes sense. Like it makes everything that you do and have done since then make sense. So take it away.
Yeah. So I was that kind of nerdy high school kid who brought a briefcase to high school.
I find that very hard to believe. Very hard to believe so far. All right.
And I wanted to be president.
And now it's just appropriate.
Yeah.
He's finally grown into it.
Yeah, I've grown into
See,
it.
now you can lean into your character once you have some successes under your belt. Otherwise, you're just the weird kid.
Yes.
So I think I know what that feels like. So good for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to be president. That was my goal.
Yeah.
And eventually morphed a little bit into maybe I'd want to run a presidential campaign. And got very involved in politics in college, which is how we met. We met in the College Republican Club. And she was also enthusiastic about political matters. She spoke passionately about a number of issues in front of our group.
Yep.
And we absolutely just hit it off. And developed an interest in being, running campaigns together, working in politics together. And a few years later, preparing to get married and realized we wanted to do something grand, didn't have the money for it.
I don't know about grand, but maybe just above nothing.
Grand by our standards at the time. And wanted to get married with some pizzazz, right?
We couldn't afford it.
Couldn't afford it. So one of the political campaigns and candidates that we had volunteered to help, who has become a mentor over the years, suggested, why don't you, since you're getting married in August, make money for your wedding by selling fireworks around the 4th of July.
How patriotic is that? Unbelievably patriotic.
Yes, and he had a hookup with a fireworks company that he had sold his business to, who put up these seasonal tents and consigned fireworks, mostly to charities, as a way to raise money. He said, you could just offer to do it as a kind of for-profit enterprise to make money for your wedding. So we volunteered with the company, not volunteered, we took over 3 locations in the Indianapolis area where we were living. And that's how we made money for our wedding. We made $9,000 in 2 weeks.
10 days,
we got our friends to volunteer to sit with us in the tents and run the cash registers and do all that. We slept in our car.
I
imagine you paid them really well too, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We did zero. That's
Zero.
the best.
You are such good capitalists. I'm telling you.
My parents came out for a week and helped. We had to sleep in the tent in the car because that's how you kept people from stealing your fireworks, which was the first time we ever did that. But made the $9,000, and that's how we paid for the wedding. And performed better, I think, for the fireworks company than they felt like the charities had done. So when it came to the following year, which was 2005, after we'd been married for a year, we volunteered to run what we thought would be a larger operation. Mm-hmm. And they suggested, well, if you want to do as much revenue, but from one location, you need to do it in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is much closer in proximity to Jersey, New York City, and fireworks are not legal there. So people drive into Pennsylvania to buy. So you'll do more revenue. We'll set you up with a place in Harleysville, which is just outside of Philly. And so
what could go wrong? Sounds simple enough, right?
Yeah.
Sounds easy. Yeah.
So we prepped for that. I went out first. Kristen was going to come later. But when we got to Harleysville with 2 other people, there was no tent there. And I was confused. I called the rep from the fireworks company who we had never talked to before. His name was Sam, and Sam was a pretty cool cat. And he said, oh, no, we've got you. You're going to be in Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, instead of Harleysville. Just drive down on US 1. So the corner of US 1 and Welsh, there's a kind of a shopping center there, and that's where we have you set up. So we drove in there, slept there that night. The next morning, they showed up with a big orange Schneider semi-truck and 14 pallets of fireworks, which I was not expecting. And we start setting everything up. We have a very angry truck driver because he can't leave until the fireworks are off. There's only 3 of us to move 14 pallets of fireworks.
They did not prepare us at all.
No forklifts, no hand truck. We we were expecting a much smaller operation. But about, I don't know, towards the evening on that night when we were getting close to getting the thing emptied, I hear sirens and turn to look and see what's happening. And I notice there is a set of police SUVs rolling into the parking lot with police officers in what they're, I don't know what you would call it, riot gear,
police,
machine guns,
firemen,
boots,
fire engines,
fire trucks, the whole deal.
They rolled everyone out just for you, the welcome wagon.
Exactly.
How patriotic.
Yeah.
And they approach us and they say, it's not legal to sell fireworks in Philadelphia. And the only reason you're not in handcuffs and down to the jail right now is that you weren't trying to hide it. We had a big sign on the tent that said fireworks. And I am not sure what's going on. Mm-hmm. Sam and I chat again. He comes to visit. Sam is yelling at the police officers, I dare you to put us into prison. This is perfectly legal. What I didn't know was our mentor and friend had worked with the state legislature in Pennsylvania and slipped a change in their state law into a bill that made it so that all fireworks laws in the entire state were standardized. So the city of Philadelphia and the city of Pittsburgh, they couldn't develop their own local ordinances. All the fireworks laws were standard. So it legalized fireworks in Philly, but the cops didn't know.
Yeah.
Neither did the fire department.
Somebody forgot to give them the memo.
But it was that access to our friends what got us there and kept us out of jail, thankfully. But also the unintended benefit for us was it got all this attention because there was all these police officers, fire trucks. This went on for hours until the situation got resolved. The local news showed up and filmed kind of what was going on.
Multiple stations all went live filming it. I saw the coverage later, of course. But yeah, it was unbelievable because then everybody came and just completely swarmed our tent and we sold an insane amount of fireworks. So it all was wonderful.
So it was $24,000 we made in those 10 days.
Yep.
And it was at that time we thought to ourselves, why do we have jobs when we can make, that was what I was making at the time at my job.
For a year.
Yeah.
Your salary in a couple of days, right?
Like, so why am I doing this?
Yeah.
We don't need to
Maybe
do this.
slightly more, but it was like, this is.
And that's what really gave us a taste for business.
Yeah.
So we were
and if I remember correctly, you said a down payment on your house on top of it, right?
Yeah.
We did. We did.
That's what we did with the money. We put down payment on a house.
We bought our first house,
Yeah.
Nope.
So we got back and we said, okay, well, we could do fireworks in the summer. We need to do something in the winter. So we hunted around, actually found somebody in your backyard in San Diego who had a sort of a franchise, more of a license arrangement where we could license their name, the Christmas Light Pros, and sell and install Christmas lights.
I would like
People's
fireworks Christmas lights. Can you do something with that? But yeah.
Yes, we should have done that together.
Extra pizzazz whenever you need it.
Add
Just
more
a little-
value.
Yeah,
That's what we should have done. So yeah, we started selling Christmas lights in Indy.
Yeah.
And we did
We're
80
both afraid of heights too, so I don't know
Yeah.
why we're picking these things we know nothing about.
That's what
But-
other people are for.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
historically true. We didn't really know much about fireworks, so sure, we could sell that. We're scared of heights. We've not, so of course, let's install Christmas lights on people's houses.
Yeah, we did $80,000 in Christmas lights installation that year.
Yep.
And I think it was in year 1 or year 2 that we obtained a client, a guy named Tim Durham, who lived in Indy and owned the rights to that National Lampoon's franchise, which, the Christmas vacation thing with Chevy Chase is part of that whole deal. And of course, he had the same propensity for lights, and it took 8 people 7 days to install his lights.
It's a great client.
He was a wonderful client.
Yeah.
And it became our second entrepreneurial venture.
Yep.
And what's kind of funny is the political work, which eventually became our marketing agency and really took off, was just supposed to supplement our fun seasonal businesses. We'll just take on a couple political clients. It's what we used to do for a living. And it'll fill in the gaps because Christmas light stuff really only runs from November to January and fireworks is just June. And in 2007, took our first political client.
There you have it. We got a round the clock business. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I learned just when I was, researching you and talking to you initially about this was just how, when you think about it, what really benefited you at the time with the fireworks was, someone had figured out how to write an exception law. You got a lot of media, which taught you a lot about, well, you can take advantage of the media, spin something, and produce a great business from that with free press and free media. And then on top of it, you've got just what connections can do for you to keep you out of trouble.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So
yes.
You've got a tremendous number of things here. So what was the connection then between politics, though, and those things? Because clearly you had connections, besides the fact that you made relationships and you really started understanding politics with your, being involved actively in college. But why don't you just dive into how quickly did you figure out how to get people elected and what were your big wins? So what's the transition point there?
Yeah, I mean, we, I don't know, we just kind of dove right into it. At the time, digital marketing for political candidates was kind of new. Campaigns didn't know how to handle that. What's this internet thing? A lot of candidates tend to be 60 plus, and so they weren't digital natives. They weren't
They ain't
born
using that newfangled internet.
Yeah,
No.
they aren't on email.
E-communications, new media was what it was called.
Yep.
And that's a new market that's opening up. And if we want to do this for a living and not have to be on a campaign where you lose your job every so many months, if we want to make it a business, we've got to find something that we can do that we can bring that other people don't know how to do. Yep. And guess what? If they don't know how to do it, they won't recognize that we also are just barely learning ourselves. Yeah. And so it made a lot of sense. I thought we can figure this out.
Yeah, Kristen taught herself to code, and we just kind of figured it out as we went. And the three things together were sort of making us a living, but it just wasn't. First couple of years didn't really take off. Mm-hmm. And I remembered as we were talking about this, a conversation that we had in very early 2010 to say, look, we're struggling to pay employees. We had one nightmare scenario where we only had a couple employees, but I remember bouncing a payroll check. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I thought, if we can't make it work this year, we've been at this for 4 years, let's go get real jobs. At least we'll have money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
We won't be fishing in cushions for pizza money. And we can just, go do what everybody else does. But we ended up having a breakout year in 2010. We were going to give it a big push.
We drove everywhere to build relationships, to meet clients, again, saving money by sleeping in the car sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And that hustle really paid off. We just hit the road and busted our butts.
So it was a real breakout year for us. So for the first time, we did millions in revenue, not just a few 100,000. We had obtained a bunch of congressional clients, 14 of which won that year. And we had a couple of higher profile campaigns. We had Scott Brown, who won a U.S. Senate seat that year, and Chris Christie, governor. Well, Chris Christie was elected governor in late 2009, and Bob McDonnell in Virginia in also late 2009. And those big upsets were our clients. And in this business, it's all about, what have you done for me lately? Have you won something big lately? And those were the big ones. Right after a pretty particularly bad year for Republican candidates, we had a couple of really good elections in 9 and 10. And so that really took us from unknowns to people who win races that nobody thought or were winnable.
Yeah.
And then 2012, we were able to do our first presidential campaign, and things were really, we never looked back. We went from getting excited when we had our first $1 million year to having $1 million months to having $8 million months. And it's been a fun business to be in.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. And so when did you start raising money too? Because you had, 2016 was massive for you guys. We'll get into that in a second. But the crossover between here you are message making and then literally money making and doing it better, faster, more effectively, but also starting to understand the data. And that kind of leads us to, what you've been able to adapt to not just your own business, but now to other people's businesses as well, which as far as I know, you're the only people I've ever known, which gives you a really unique angle, a true category of one offer of being in using all this political knowledge, all this media knowledge, combining with thinking about everyone and everything as a startup, lumping it in one place, and then finding where's the MRR? Because you started spinning off little businesses from within your businesses, some of which you sold, some of which generate to this day basically what you call mailbox money.
Right.
So tie this together between the making money, raising money, but also bring it to the presidential, the big win for you guys.
Campaigns are weird. You can't really compare them to a business because they are startups, and they're startups with a deadline. Most of them really only last about a year and a half. And they have to go from zero. Nobody knows who they are. They don't have any money to fund any staff or advertising activities, to sometimes having 25, 35, 45, 50 million, or if you're running for president, $1 billion to spend. And so it creates a unique challenge. How do we identify supporters? You can't raise all that money from billionaires because there are limits to what they can give.
Yeah.
So it has to come from thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of people. And so we got good at identifying donors and activating donors for campaigns in really short time frames. We had
finding out what moves people, what they're interested in, what speaks to them about the candidate, so that we can then tap into that to get them to take action.
Yes.
Right. But being able to do it literally inside of a news cycle, which could happen in hours or at most a couple of days, which means you got to think fast, respond fast, create these campaigns, create the copy. Get more clients, grow your business with better marketing and messaging. Make more money and get a better life with more freedom of time, money, relationship, and impact. Learn more about our 3-day one-on-one done with you reinvention workshop. Visit connecttomike.com to book a conversation with me right now. All right, back to the episode. And one bad, dumb message movement can destroy a brand.
Right.
This is literally not just the life and death of that political character's career potentially. It certainly can lose that election, and a lot of people lose their jobs as well. Yeah. So again, I love thinking about the mindset. Right. Well, and that's why the wins are big for you guys as well, but also being able to think of every single thing you're doing as a new business that you can create and spin off, which that's what I really love about you guys is the notion that when you roll into a business now and you run your AI bot on the data and have it examine the information and find hidden money and repeat money that can be responded to very, very quickly. You can build campaigns that generate information you can look at and figure out how are we going to spin the news cycle? How are we going to spin information cycles to create massive engagement? And the mindset of how do I win a presidential election with the mindsets and the tools that you built. Every business in the world should be talking to you guys right now to use these, because like I said, I haven't ever heard of anyone thinking like you do or doing what you do.
Well, that's a huge endorsement.
Yeah. What a setup. What a setup. Okay.
Where do I write the check
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that? But I will just say it's something that was so interesting and clear to us. We got good at what we did. We really loved it. We
Yep.
got our team on board, which that was a huge learning experience of just learning how to build a good culture
Yep.
of people moving in the right direction, because you don't see a lot of that on campaigns, as you might imagine. That's not their first priority. And so once we got that and we got into a rhythm,
Yeah.
it's, well, how else can we make money? I mean, campaigns are so cyclical. They're up and down.
Yeah.
How do we even out the revenue? And it's just looking at what you have to offer. What assets do you have? What things, to your point about spinoffs, we found out that we had incredible data, that if we had the right agreements to keep everything legal, that we could find ways to monetize that data, use it for other purposes. And that's what's really helped us be successful. And we've done that over and over and over again. Different IP, different data, assets, new ways of looking at what can I sell to the same customer.
Yep.
It's all the same stuff, but we've just had to do it.
Yeah. And maybe again, so we bring this home, let's close the loop on the presidential cycle and the money you raised for President T. So I think I want to put a pin in that, and then let's get into your system, because part of the promise here is we're going to reveal the system. But again, I think the setup and the story and the mindsets are the most important thing, because then everything else falls in place. So who wants to take that one?
Oh, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we, for President Trump in 2016, you had a very unique situation. Somebody who was first to be understood as a political candidate, not previously understood, but is reinventing himself as a political candidate in some respects. And being able to jump in there and find a way to generate a lot of small dollar contributions for a guy who could write a check, which he had been doing for much of his early campaign, was a unique challenge.
Yeah.
We ended up doing about 50 or 60 million of his total raise, which was much higher, all things considered, and learn new ways, more sophisticated ways to find donors and to activate them, and also find people that folks were ignoring that might be interested in giving. Finding new, in this respect, it's the parallels, finding new customers, new people who might want to engage in politics, never wanted to engage before.
Yeah.
Trump, whatever you think of it, brought a lot of people into the system that felt left out by previous politicians. And so that was something that was a joy to master. And it was everything. Some of it happened slowly. Some of it happened fast. During the Trump campaign, one of the campaigns we ran generated $2.6 million in just a few hours. And it was you're just watching it come in thinking, this can't be happening.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. It's so awesome. It is so awesome. So at some point then, you've been at this now for going on 2 decades, and you had this position where you started buying some little businesses of your own. You had spun out some of your own IP into little businesses, and you had this big aha of I want to reinvent faster. I want to take what I've been doing. I want to give back on a bigger level. And I think one of the conversations we've had is in politics, you're selling something either a lot of people don't want. It can be super polarizing, and you deal with extremely difficult customers at time. I'm saying it, not you. That way you don't get in any trouble. But they're complicated personalities who forget you when they've won, or they've forgotten you when they've lost. So the nature of the business is it's not a loyal business. And one of the things that we really have in common is the fact that we just love America. We love American ideals. We love capitalism. We love the idea of creating jobs and giving back. And we both agree that a strong small business environment is a strong America. So the movement, your next call to adventure to reinvent faster, and then evolving that into your toolkit that you had been building. And literally, if you think about it, if you guys have raised around $500 million and gotten governors and congressmen and participated in presidents getting elected, who wouldn't want that force behind them in a business environment? So what's the system, and get us back to the call to adventure that made you say, I got to do it a different way for different people, a different customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when it's all said and done, you get into politics because you want to make the world a better place. That's what motivates everybody, no matter where they come from. And that's what motivated us. And at some point, we realized one of the ways we were making the world a better place was we were providing jobs for people, making successful businesses, contributing to the economy was just as important, maybe even more important than electing your favorite politician. And we wanted to sit and think, how could we help businesses? And what do we do? What do politicians do that are unique, that could be brought to an average, small, medium-sized business to help them thrive? And what's helped us thrive, over the 2 decades we've been in business doing this. And we really sat down, come up with what I think is a great system that we've operated on, sometimes unintentionally,
Right.
and what we can bring. And we noticed that most successful politicians and businesses similarly are really focused on what are those, to start with, what are the critical drivers, KPIs that are truly driving their business today. It's easy for politicians and it's easy for businesses to get distracted on things that don't really matter.
Vanity metrics, as we say.
Metrics, right? And for a politician, it might be a really sexy television ad that makes them feel good about themselves, but isn't really leading to votes. For a business, it might be, I'm so excited I have 40 employees, but employee count doesn't equal to profitability. Sometimes it's the exact opposite. So starting with identifying what's really driving your business at the moment, what are those key things? What's driving your profit? To understand what's working, that helps you understand what's working, what's not, and to spend more time on the things that are working. So that's the first thing we really have learned to focus on, and good campaigns understand. And then the ability to optimize against those drivers is that second priority or part of our quadrant we've been working off of that are so important for campaigns. Is it's understanding what the driver, which for a campaign ultimately is votes, what's actually leading to somebody to vote for me, and are we optimizing for that? Are we talking to the right people, which means people who might actually consider us, who as opposed to somebody who wouldn't vote for us under any circumstance, or vice versa, they're already voting for us. Or
Who's your ideal customer, right?
Yes, or who isn't going to vote at all, which is a big thing. There's and particularly in a non-presidential year, 40%, sometimes much larger, don't even vote. So why are we optimizing? We need to optimize for people who will vote. Do we understand what our message is? We're not off the beaten path talking about things that voters don't care about. What's our message? What kind of buzz? What kind of engagement are we creating?
Yeah.
Is that second thing that every politician and every business needs to look at in order to continuously reinvent. That leads to a discussion about your team. Do I have the team that can execute?
Well, and I would just add test.
Right,
That's a key part of it too, because sometimes you think or maybe something has worked in the past that no longer works. So the whole key about optimizing, you got to know your numbers, you got to know what those metrics are, and then you've got to constantly be looking at those.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, what I'm getting to, and I'm going to restate what you've just been saying, because, your first step is the drivers. That's, like you say, versus vanity metrics, but you're looking at, and you've got an amazing tool, the business bot that looks at the data, you feed it in, and you've got the support of AI, looking at the money, looking at the control, and those are the core drivers. Then it's optimizing the message, the media channels, but also it's about buzz creation.
That's right.
Mike Koenigs here. Just a quick message before we go back to the program. One of the things that I love about Kurt and Kristen, besides the fact that they're just brilliant, is they put together a really cool tool that's available on their website at reinventfaster.com. It's something they call the Unfair Advantage Optimizer Bot. It's a tool that's using AI that will dig into your business. You'll just simply answer a few questions, and you're going to get an amazing detailed report that'll show you how you can take advantage of some of the strategies that we've been discussing in this interview and even more. And what I love about it is we designed something kind of like a McKinsey report plus a magazine output. It is beautiful, it is detailed and customized for you based upon your business. So head on over to reinventfaster.com And now we'll go back to the program. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And you had said something that I hadn't thought of in our prior discussions, Kurt, about, votes. That's the equivalent in the business world of engagement, but it's the pre-sale even to, well, for you guys, it's the sale, right? The vote is the sale, but the engagement is how people react and respond to the buzz. But I think it's more nuanced than a traditional business environment. If you think about the granularity of how you've had to think, it's actually more complex in a political environment than it is for us, where it's sort of like, let's generate a sale. And it's a different transactional mindset. And I love the fact that you've got a deeper understanding of how to use the data, how to use the psychology, how to take advantage of the timing of the media cycle. There's so many factors that I don't think traditional businesses either have the time or the background to think of, right?
Yeah.
And all of this is happening while you are working with the founders to make sure they're staying focused on the core business. That's like never lose sight of the thing that's paying the bills, but there's all sorts of other places that revenue and spin outs and IP can be created that can also monetize.
Yeah. There's hidden money.
Yes.
There's hidden money
There's
that
hidden
we're
money
leaving
in
on
every
the table,
business.
and we find
You're
that
right.
all the time.
Yep.
And it's just about who can you get to help you find it. We all want to find it, but like you said, we're trying to focus on our core business, and we need help.
Yep.
And that's what we're excited about doing.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your other two beyond the the drivers, the optimization. What are the last two of the core components here?
Yeah, so you got to have a team that can execute. But as we thought about campaigns, some campaigns fail for that reason. They're startups. They have to hire from scratch, sometimes hundreds of people. And having the right team is essential. And you having the right team at your business is essential. Do you have the person who can execute? Do they have the right sort of reinvention mindset?
Yeah.
Do they understand how to think about this? We're a startup. We're throwing things together here quickly, making quick decisions. And so that's a key part of it. You can have a great plan, a great product. You can understand your critical drivers, but if your team can't execute, it's a problem. And then finally, I think that's where you really get a chance to step back briefly and look at your innovation opportunities. And that's what we have excelled at our business. Kristen mentioned it before. We found opportunities in our data, people who were interacting with our clients. We found opportunities in our customer data in the form of other people want to do business with our customers, and that data was valuable to third parties. We found other products and services we could sell. We were selling digital products, but we could also sell plain old boring, promotional products to our clients, and often we're part of their digital advertising campaign. So there's hidden money in the data. There's hidden money in your customer list. Maybe there's opportunities to sort of see yourself a little bit like a venture fund, where there's what would my customers really like that I could invest in creating. And that's something we've gotten good at, and it has led to not just money coming out of our traditional core business, but also little spin-offs. We've created and sold a couple. We've created and kept a few, and it's been a
joint ventures.
Yeah, and those have been powerful. And I think candidates have taught us that we're really looking at a very short time frame in these days. That your business candidates don't have a lot of time. Businesses don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
A lot of things that were popular yesterday aren't going to be popular today. Things that were working 2 years ago aren't going to work tomorrow. And the need is to reinvent faster. You can't pause and wait for everything to blow apart and then try to fix it.
Yeah.
It's got to be done proactively. And you've got to be consistently evolving. You can run as a president on hope and change, but 4 years later, you are the incumbent. You can't run on hope and change. Now you got to run on forward if you're President Obama, because you have to reinvent. And that's what businesses need to do too. And find these new ways to make money and evolve their business models and eliminate things that aren't working anymore.
Yeah, we can't be the only people that feel like time's just moving really fast.
Right.
Technology's changing, consumer behavior's changing. And so you've got to have that mindset of being agile and constantly reinventing and looking at your business from fresh eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. And in your case, that it goes back to the cycle. It goes back even after from the driver to the optimization, to the team, to the innovation cycle. You go back and do it over and over again. And what I agree with you on is approaching your business, respecting the core, right? We're never going to cut off our nose to spite our face. And yet you've got to be in a position where you're constantly reinventing, creating new little businesses, and being willing to let go of the past because, the world is changing. Right. And, those who don't evolve become dinosaurs, and we know what happened to them, right? Yeah. It's like Dan Sullivan has a great saying is, when you quit being useful, the universe has a funny way of asking for its parts back. Yeah. And it's a brilliant, brilliant phrase that I always remember is like, that's why he doesn't believe in retirement at all. At 79, he's going strong, and he has a 100-year plan, and he's sticking to it. And so
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's just another one of the many things I love about him so much. So when you go through the cycles, I think this is a good time to transition to, why don't you talk a little bit about who you're working with, like who's your perfect customer, your perfect client, and then what are the who do you work with and who do you don't work with? Okay, that's always a good question, because the other thing that we've prepared is a masterclass where you go through some of the specific steps. We've got some more specific case studies that we're going to share, but I think this is a really good time to transition to that, which, by the way, for you watching or listening, go to reinventfaster.com, because that's the website, that's the brand, that's the domain where you can get some extended tools and resources, including the masterclass, a download of their presentation, also an onboarding, so you can kind of see and hear what it's like to go through this process. Because again, the mindsets are just part of this, but also seeing the entire business model they put together, it's something you'll be able to apply and think about right now. So who's the right fit and who's not a right fit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we really are passionate because we are family-owned, owner-operated business. So we like other people. There's something we have about passion we have for other family businesses, owner-operated.
Founders,
mm-hmm. People who are coachable, but also real values-driven, want to leave a legacy. That's just really attuned with who we are. Looking for people who, companies that are doing 7 figures, probably 20 plus employees, and have some ambitious owners that want to reinvent faster, want to their businesses to grow and evolve and get better over time.
Yeah, and I would say we were talking about this. What clients or candidates in the past have we not wanted to work with? And it was those people that didn't want to do the things that were hard. They wanted to only have somebody else do it for them. They thought, if I just hire all the experts, it'll all just be easy. People that didn't recognize how hard the task was ahead. They weren't ready to kind of amp up and do what needed to be done. And, people that didn't value their team and thought it was all about them. Yeah. And so if that sounds like you, that's not who we want to.
Yeah. Yep. That's great. Anything else you want to add to that list of knots?
People who are in it for themselves ultimately struggle to succeed in an environment like this. I think you've got to really have a passion for your customer, for your clients and your employees. And those were the kind of politicians you can spot them in a second.
Yeah.
That we knew would be a pain to work with.
Yeah.
And we feel the same way about business owners. If they're in it for a buck and a buck only, that's not our system probably won't work very well.
Well, it's I think what I'll do then is I'll close up this part, but I'm going to give you guys the final words. This will give you a couple moments to think about what you want to say, but I'm going to do the call to action for you here, which is to head on over to Reinvent Faster. That's where you're going to get the free goodies from Kurt and Kristen, and just get to know them better, because I've had the great opportunity to spend several days with them, gotten to know them, really gotten to learn their deeper history, their bigger whys, and they're just good people who are principled. And I've really, really learned a lot about the how people get elected through a lens I hadn't looked at before. So you get the Reinvent Faster guide and video. That's all the presentation materials, including the masterclass. You're going to get the day in the life implementation videos. You're going to understand better on what it's like to work with them and what they'll be doing with you. And then an opportunity to schedule a strategy session as well. So all that is at reinventfaster.com. So Kurt and Kristen, it's time for your final word. What would you like to say to wrap this up?
Well, I'll let you close. You're always so eloquent. But I would just say that we're just really excited about helping small businesses. You can't tell or feel our passion. We've learned so much from the political industry. And for me, when he was talking about the team, I just really appreciated or had a new appreciation for the value I can bring as a business owner, as an employer, and how we can support our teams. And to me, that's what really drives it home is everything we wanted to do about getting people elected is one piece of the puzzle. It has its place, but we really have so much control over making things better for our families, our communities, our country. And small business is just the heartbeat of America. And we want to help everybody reinvent faster and we have so much we can bring to the table.
Kurt?
She did such a great job on it. But at some point during this process over the last 20 years, we worked for a lot of wonderful people. But you have a growing appreciation, if you work in this industry, that there's not a politician who could save us. But I'll tell you what can, and that's people who are willing to stick their necks out and build great things, employ people, generate economic value. And then we've become increasingly more passionate about that. We think we have a lot that we can bring to the table. I know we have a lot we can bring to the table for small businesses that want to create that kind of value and know they need to be quick, adept, and capable of building new revenue streams and becoming more profitable and changing the world along with us.
That's good. That's good. Very good. Very good. Well, I'll bring this home then. Once again, head on over to reinventfaster.com. And what I'd like to ask of you watching, listening, is if there's something in this that just got you to light up and you can think of one or two people right now who'd be perfect fits to either hear this message or they might be right fits to work with Kurt and Kristen, definitely forward this audio, forward this video, share the podcast with them. Point them over to reinventfaster.com and say, check this out, because like I said, I've gotten to spend great days with them, really digging deep. And they are right fit people who have high integrity, have their hearts in the right places, and believe what I believe you believe in. And that's why you're here in the first place. So this is Capability Amplifier. My name is Mike Koenigs. I do this with my very good friend, my mentor, Dan Sullivan. I want to thank you so much for listening and viewing. We'll see you in the next episode soon. Let's say goodbye, shall we?
All right.
See you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.